On our first ever episode, reach for that good parenting guide and grab your barf bag because we're talking Problem Child 2. I'm Neth Knowles.
I'm Laura Medeiros.
I'm Rodey Gozum.
And I'm Swaine.
And this is Bad with Numbers. Hello, dear listener, and welcome to Bad with Numbers, a podcast where we goof about bad movies. And if that doesn't sound particularly original, then don't worry, because neither are the movies we're talking about, because we deal exclusively in the realm of terrible sequels. How are you guys feeling about this little venture?
Why?
Yeah.
Just why did you choose this as first?
Yeah.
Out of all the sequels in the world, you choose Problem Child 2 to come into the world with.
Yeah, well, I figure if we're going to start scraping the barrel, we might as well start right at the fucking bottom.
I think Neth has some trauma he needs to process.
I think so. I think I've got to work some shit out with this movie. So that's right, we're talking about Problem Child 2 from the good year 1991, directed by Brian Levant. Do you guys know what else Brian Levant directed?
Nope.
He is the fucking genius responsible for the Flintstones movie.
Oh, no.
You know what? It all makes sense suddenly.
The first one?
He also made Beethoven, which came out the year after this movie.
That doesn't surprise me.
The one with the dog?
The one with the dog, not the one with the composer.
It all makes sense. No, it makes sense. The dog was the best part of that fucking movie. So for him to create the entire Beethoven series, yeah, I get it.
Poor Beethoven, he's been dead for 20 years.
Oh.
Okay, so before we get into this fucking shit show of a film, I'm just going to throw it out to you guys. What is a sequel that we are never going to cover on this show? I personally am saying we're never doing Gremlins 2 The New Batch because that movie is a treasure.
That's fair. You know, I haven't actually seen the first one either.
What?
Yeah, similar boat.
Both are good.
I'm not feeling Human Centipede 2, if we can stay the fuck away from that.
Yeah, no body horror.
Yeah, I get the gist. I think I'm good to never watch that.
I'm more than happy to leave that movie well alone.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good time.
Roddy, what are we leaving alone?
Honestly, you guys can tackle whatever you want and I can put up a fight, but I guess Spider-Man 2?
I mean, that one's just a good movie.
It's just a good movie.
Wait, which one? Amazing Spider-Man 2 or like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2?
Well, The Amazing Spider-Man, that's you know the answer to that.
No, I don't.
Really?
Amazing Spider-Man 2 is my favorite, actually.
No, okay.
Like, the Amazing Spider-Man series?
The one with the one with Garfield in it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield.
I like the clarification there that it's Andrew Garfield and not Garfield the cat starring in that
Yes,
movie.
I was trying to remember his first name, and I wanted to say James Garfield, and I'm like, no, that's the president.
Megan, what are we leaving alone?
I'm not too picky, and I guess there are some films that would just be super cringy by today's standards and not in a fun way. Like, I think I threw Austin Powers 2, which I watched way too many times in my teens.
I actually did that whole franchise during the lockdown.
Oh, yeah?
Again, why, Neth? Why?
I've been watching a lot of franchises lately. I watched fucking Alien vs. Predator last night, like, out of choice. There wasn't even like a gun to my head. Shall we delve into the cinematic nightmare that is Problem Child 2?
Okay, I've got a lot of questions.
All right, before we get into this, actually, let's just go around the horn and figure out what everybody's experiences or relationships with this franchise are. I saw this movie a lot as a kid. This movie just seemed to get lodged in my VCR. It was on a lot in my house. How about you guys? Laura, this franchise, familiar?
No, I had no idea that this actually existed, and I don't know why it exists either. Like, after watching it, I don't think I could actually pinpoint why a sequel was necessary, but I think I would need to know what the first one was even, but I couldn't piece together too much. I just knew that they were, starting life over so that he could be better, but he sucks, so it didn't even matter.
So you know that there's actually a third film in this series as well.
Stop.
Yeah, I looked it up. It looked, oh my God.
What else is there as well as a third movie?
There's a cartoon, which I looked up on YouTube as soon as I heard it existed, and then I watched about 3 seconds of it where I was like, wow, this had a budget of like $10.
I assume it was none of the original cast doing the voices.
I think Gilbert Gottfried resumed his role because, of course,
Oh, Will fucking...
Saving grace.
Like, debatable.
We're gonna get to him. Roddy, where are you with this franchise?
I have like no recollection of this except for like it's in bits and like my parents watching it.
Your parents watched this?
Yeah, you know, like when people just kind of rent movies just to rent them to pass the time. So I think this is one of those.
Megan, I know you'd seen this one before.
yes, I think both because they showed it on TV sometimes. Like, we lived out in the sticks, and there was a convenience store that rented some movies out, and it didn't have a huge selection, and I think the Problem Child movies were in there.
Did they edit it for TV? Because this film is vile.
It is. I don't really remember whether they edited it or not.
Well, I mean, it was just kind of the time, too. Like, it was just
Yep.
90s, you know, humor.
I mean, when I was a kid, we watched RoboCop, so I think standards were a little bit different back then. My brother watched Bloodsport 50 times.
You know that's Trump's favorite movie?
Bloodsport? I thought Citizen Kane was his favorite movie.
No. That guy, fucking Citizen Kane, come on.
He quotes from it. He quotes from Citizen Kane.
He does?
Yeah, because he saw it on The Simpsons. That guy has never seen Citizen Kane.
It was mentioned in an article somewhere, and the reason I brought it up was because he quoted from the political speech from the movie.
I mean, his speechwriters have probably seen Citizen Kane.
But apparently he's watched it. I get the impression that he probably doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand what it's about, but he probably just watches the scenes where you know, Charles Foster Kane is screaming at people from a podium.
The story I heard was that Bloodsport was his favorite movie, but he gets Eric to fast forward all of the dialogue, and he literally just watches the fight scenes.
Yeah, I can see that. He imagines that he can kick people's asses in a kumite.
I would love to see Van Damme square off against that orange fuck, but okay. We're already fucking digressing into political chatter.
That's okay. It's a podcast.
Yeah.
We got to save the Trump stuff for the Home Alone 2 episode.
Oh, dear God.
It's just like a brief cameo, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
I mean, it's still longer than it needs to be.
Although the scene when Gilbert Gottfried's character is in the restaurant and he's talking to that woman, like, I wrote down, Gilbert Gottfried thinks he's Donald Trump, and then less than a minute later, his character says, "You rotten kids, you should be locked in cages."
Oh, Jesus.
There it is.
A little too on the nose, I think.
All right, let's fucking get into this. So, in the tradition of so many cinematic classics, this movie begins with a series of bland shots of fucking freeways, industrial buildings, and dirty motels. And if you needed any inclination of the tone being set for this film, one of the first things that you see in this movie is a strip club, and it's shaped like a pair of boobs. And that says everything you need to know about Problem Child 2. So we meet Ben Healy, played by the late John Ritter, and his adopted son Junior, played by some kid called Michael Oliver. And straight out of the gate, these guys, they're on a road trip. They're heading to their new home following the events of Problem Child 1. They're gouging themselves on as much diner food as they can, and it's kind of gross. And my first thought was, is he trying to kill this kid through diabetes?
Okay, legitimately though, like when I'm watching like the first montage of like the father-son, it could be seen as like a legitimately good feel film. If you take it for just that one section.
No.
Really?
No.
It's just like they're...
Absolutely not.
He's not being very responsible in his choices there as a dad.
He's like taking him on a tour of like the greatest hits of America, I guess, right?
Yeah, but then he's peeing on a fence, and like the kid's just a little shit, and
they keep wearing matching outfits.
Which is weird.
There are so many scenes where they're wearing matching outfits, and it's fucking disturbing.
Why are they wearing the same fucking clothes all the time?
It's so you know that they've bonded.
No, I have a theory. That Ben keeps losing Junior. So he's like, what am I wearing? And he looks down, he's like, that's my kid. That's the one, right?
It's just cheaper than trying to put a leash on him, right?
Yeah.
Did anybody notice the blatant product placement throughout this movie for one particular company?
No.
This movie is brought to you by U-Haul, because holy fuck, every other shot there is a fucking U-Haul trailer in there.
They probably paid for the movie.
But what was with that ad placement with the dog food? What was that? What was that scene?
It's made from horse.
I think it was just a bit that they thought was funny, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
They are basically on their way to start a new life in Mortville, which is the divorcee capital of America. And no sooner have they pulled up to their new house, but there is a literal swarm of what I presume to be single women who flood to their doorstep to drop off pies and muffins and God knows what other baked goods. And these women are all fawning over John Ritter. And again, I'm wondering, was John Ritter a prospect in the 90s?
That's what I was wondering too.
You mean, was he considered attractive?
Sure. Would women suddenly drop everything they're doing to go and bake this guy a cherry pie?
I don't know about that. One of the first notes I wrote when I was watching this movie is I wrote, back in the day, John Ritter would have made a perfect John from Garfield.
Oh, I could see that.
He absolutely would have.
Damn, you're right.
He's cute, but kind of schlubby.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But I don't mean he looks schlubby. I mean he acts schlubby.
No, he is schlubby, and he's like in his early 40s, and he's divorced, and he's kind of doughy, and I'm thinking, hey, maybe I should go check out this town.
Do you like pie?
I mean, I'm not fucking averse to pie.
Did they just keep a bunch of baked goods on hand, or did they see the sold sign and just take a chance?
Oh, maybe that was it. Maybe they were just hedging their bets.
It might be a man. I better bake a pie.
So they move into their house and they meet their new next door neighbor. And because this is a 90s movie, he is just an asshole.
Yep.
And to make matters worse, he's got a pair of asshole twin daughters.
Oh my God.
These kids were in Kindergarten Cop as well, which is
were they?
movie. Yeah, they were. I think they were the ones that were chatting about their mom's vagina or something. I don't know.
What fascinates me is they're always trying to make money, but they keep bidding down. Like at the beginning of the movie, they're asking for $20.
Right.
Then they're selling lemonade for $2 a cup, which in 1990 is pretty steep.
Yeah.
And then later on, they're selling grandpa's silk shirts for like a dime.
Yeah, these kids have no business acumen. These kids are fucking idiots. But they're horrible. And also, they're the kind of twins that dress exactly the same. What is it with people dressing exactly the same in this movie? And they fucking speak in unison, which is the single creepiest thing that twins can ever do.
Why are they always yelling though?
Yeah, they are pretty loud.
Like, why were they so loud?
Yeah.
Everybody is yelling at one another in this movie. It is just a tension headache of a film.
I mean, Junior himself overspeaks every line really loud.
Sure. And we should probably kind of put a caveat here that child actors are not to be particularly poked fun at. I don't know if you guys have seen the documentary Showbiz Kids that Alex Winter, Bill from Bill and Ted directed. But it's a pretty harrowing tale of how these kids are treated and whatever. So we're not going to fucking take too many shots at their performances because, yeah, they were under a lot of pressure and mommy wanted them to be in the movies. And
yeah, the performances are only good as the training they were given, right? So, like...
But we will take a bunch of shots at the fucking people that directed this movie, the people that produced this movie, the people that wrote this fucking movie.
They know better.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They should know better.
Yes.
Kids don't. They're just getting a paycheck, they're showing up, they're doing their thing, and then they're going home.
They were contractually obligated.
Also the dog. We're not going to make fun of the dog because he did his thing. But
No, the dog was wonderful. Best performance in the film.
Fave.
So yeah, child actors, let's not fucking punch down on them too much. I mean, this junior kid, he is fucking annoying. I don't actually think it's a terrible performance. He's like the kid at fucking summer camp that has a comedy routine all worked out, and goddamn, he's selling it. But at the same time, you're like, this is just a fucking kid telling me a bunch of shitty jokes.
yeah, you know what? I couldn't put my finger on like what was so grating about his voice. And I think Megan's right. It's because he was yelling the whole time. It was just like screaming.
He was over enunciating
Yeah.
things, which is probably something that somebody told him to do.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the first Harry Potter movie and the way some of the kids are acting in that movie. And they all turn out to be good actors. Like, they grew up to be really good actors.
So what you're saying is that if we'd have just given this another 4 or 5 Problem Child movies, we might have got a pretty decent performance out of this kid.
Maybe.
Was he in the third one?
No.
He's not in the third one. They replaced him. He got shit canned before the third one. Probably because the third one came out like 4 years later, and this kid is already probably belting his way through puberty at that point, and just like...
Did Jason Ritter still, like, did he go on to the third one?
John Ritter, dude.
Shit, my bad.
So anyway, so this asshole dad gives Junior like an earful for calling him a dick, which in fairness, Junior's right. This guy is a dick.
Yep.
And Junior then does his bad to the bone theme music thing and starts fucking around with the propane tanks on this guy's new barbecue. And this guy somehow manages to get blown 50 foot in the fucking air. And it's an explosion like straight out of a Michael Bay movie. And the laws of gravity dictate that this guy should be dead.
Oh, absolutely.
We're introduced to the physics.
Yes.
Absolutely. Welcome to Problem Child Physics 101. This guy lands in a pool and he gets up and he shakes it off. So I guess Junior negates another murder investigation.
Well, I maybe that's why he's so broken, is because the physics in his world is so broken. Because, like, if he actually killed somebody, that'd be it, right? Like, there's no Problem Child 2. There's no continuing on. The kid goes to jail. That's it.
He's a small demon child that was cursed with an inability to kill anybody.
Okay, he's not. Okay, is it weird when I watched this? I thought like named like Problem Child with a title that I thought would be pretty bad, but he wasn't that bad to me.
No?
No, okay, 'cause every time he did something, it's because an adult was being a dick.
True.
It's like they weren't paying attention, they weren't listening to him, they were just like trying to completely sidestep him, and he took action in a homicidal way, though. That's the only thing that I disagree with.
This is the early 90s mantra of these kids' movies is adults wrong me, so I am going to take revenge on them. I mean, Macaulay Culkin built an entire fucking career out of this.
Well, I mean, there was also a movie where he got stung to death by bees, but
Well, that's a classic.
The Hunger Games.
Wait, what?
what?
What did Macaulay Culkin get?
In My Girl.
Yeah.
The first My Girl movie.
Oh, fuck, I completely forgot.
He plays the friend.
I forgot he buys the farm in that movie.
That movie is so fucking depressing. It's a beautiful movie, but the second movie completely different.
Is it the same girl?
Yeah, it's the same girl. It is a very different type of movie. It's more of a coming of age. Yeah, I mean, the first one was a coming of age film, but the second one is a different type of coming of age film. And it actually is kind of sweet. I mean, at worst, it's boring.
Is Macaulay Culkin's ghost in it?
No, that would have improved it.
That's
For sure.
missed opportunity.
Let's rewrite it.
Yes.
Was there like a theme in Problem Child, the first one, that like had a strong undercurrent that made it a good movie? Was it even a good movie?
I don't remember it being a good movie.
Do you know what? Not terrible. Kinda actually has a couple of half decent jokes in it, but unfortunately, there's no number in the title, so we're not covering it. Never mind.
That's fine.
So Junior rocks up at Mortville Elementary and he comes face to face with Igor Peabody, played by none other than Gilbert Gottfried. Are we got any Gilbert Gottfried fans in the house?
Actually, yes. I do enjoy most of the stuff that he's in. At least what I've seen.
Sure. So he's the parrot from Aladdin, right?
Yes.
He's
Yep.
Iago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does anybody have a Gilbert Gottfried impression?
No.
I can kind of do Gilbert Gottfried. It's not very good.
Are you okay? It sounded like you're a bit in pain.
I'm fine.
It's wild though. Like he just like came into the world with that voice, right? He didn't like put it on.
He doesn't actually sound like that.
He has a podcast and it's much like Bobcat Goldthwait. His normal speaking
Yes.
voice is dialed down. It's
Oh my
very
God,
dialed
Bobcat.
down. I'm sorry to fucking
Oh,
destroy your fantasies of Gilbert Gottfried's voice.
No, that's not. Yeah,
No
that's-
way.
He's just been doing the same character for decades. That's all.
You know, he was the first guy to tell a 9/11 joke.
Oh, no.
I mean,
Yeah, that was. You're talking about the Aristocrats?
No, he
Fucking love that documentary.
he did. There was a Friars Club roast of I think it was Hugh Hefner like 2 weeks after 9/11.
Oh, no.
That's right. And is it in the Aristocrats? Do they tell it in there?
They mentioned that he made some because they only had clips of the Friars roast. They didn't have the entire footage.
Okay.
The crowd started booing him, and that's when he started telling the Aristocrats joke instead. And he just started embellishing it as much as possible and adding as much sick shit as he could to get the audience back, and he did.
I guess he kind of coined the phrase too soon with that joke.
seriously? Like no one said too soon until
What? Too soon?
I genuinely don't remember that being a phrase that people used to refer to like off the pale humor before Gilbert Gottfried told this joke. And I remember the joke and I'm very reluctant to repeat it, but I'm going to anyway. We're not keeping that bit in the podcast.
Thank you. No, I was quite curious, but I didn't want to look it up.
In context, I can imagine that room had a similar fucking reaction to the one that you guys just had.
Yeah.
Of just deathly silence.
There was a lot of collective trauma at the time. Just a lot of people that were very...
It was only like, what, 2 weeks?
The urban legend around it was like literally 2 days after, but I mean, either way. Anyway, so he meets Gilbert Gottfried.
He's like forever changed in my mind now. He's just known as Too Soon guy.
Yeah, okay, I guess. He's in the first movie, and he plays an adoption agent. He's basically the guy that fobs Junior off onto John Ritter in the first place.
They're not related.
Who's not related?
That's not his real son.
Oh, shit. I forgot Laura hasn't seen Problem Child 1 or is in any way familiar.
What? No way.
That's why he coddles him so much.
There you go. No.
Maybe we found the flaw in the podcast straight out of the gate, is that we should probably summarize the events of the first movie before we fucking get into this.
Jesus.
Yeah, so the deal is that Junior has been passed around as a kid from birth, basically, because he's just a nightmare. He ends up in a convent being looked after by a bunch of nuns. He's awful to the nuns, and he basically gets fobbed off onto John Ritter and his horrible social climbing wife. We're gonna fucking get to her, though, don't worry. And basically Gilbert Gottfried plays the adoption agent, and yet here he is somehow as the principal, or he's the administrator or something of this school. I don't know how he managed to end up wherever they ended up as well, because he is playing the same fucking character.
They have some very undisguised exposition where he's talking to somebody on the phone and talking about how much he hates children, but because he's a principal, he doesn't have to interact with them that much. The scene attempts to explain it. I don't know that it explains it that well, but
how did he get from the locale of the first movie, which I am assuming is on the other side of the country, to being the fucking administrator in this school? In
probably fleeing the law.
So anyway, Junior fucking rips ass like some 70-year-old grandpa, and it's enough for Peabody to just skip him ahead 3 grades.
Imagine hating someone so much that you skip them ahead 3 years and then you only have to deal with them for one.
It seems like a pretty extreme move, right?
Yeah, it seems like a bit of an overreaction, but here I am. I didn't see the first movie, so maybe it really wasn't.
So Junior meets his new teacher, who is 1980s movie stalwart James Tolkien from Back to the Future and Top Gun and Masters of the Universe and I don't know, a bunch of other stuff.
Strickland.
Yeah, he was just your stock 1980s authority figure.
He was so sweaty.
I know, I was gonna say.
All the time.
Always sweaty.
I thought it was like, is this like a bit? Is it a joke? Or is that his just regular...
No, I think that's just how he is.
Damn, he should have got that checked.
There's a pretty sweet Back to the Future reference, because on the blackboard behind him there's a bunch of messages. Let me see.
That was a weird scene in general, because like, who decided like, hey, let's make the bully like an actual like 30-year-old? That was a weird choice.
Yeah, the blackboard says no slackers, which is obviously
that's amazing.
Future. No talking, no chewing gum, no bald jokes, no sleeping, no spitballs, no laughing, no running, no kicking, no tardies, which is also in Back to the Future, no slackers. And this is all on the board, which presumably he needs to use to teach people things, but he's filled it up with all these rules.
And that's probably the smartest joke in this movie. Is a fucking offhanded reference to Back to the Future that only you noticed.
The set dressing in this movie is pretty good, actually. I'm one of those people that likes to pause movies and look at shit that's in the background, and this movie has a lot going on.
Did you notice in Gilbert Gottfried's like office, the pencil desk? It was like someone took time to literally make a desk out of pencil.
Oh, I did see that. I thought he just had some like OCD or something that he had to line up all his pencils like that.
The whole entire thing.
You're saying that the whole desk?
I think, yeah, the whole desk. It's like totally like not able to be used because it's not a flat surface. But like for the set deck, I was like, I had to like give a hand to them.
We've actually found a positive in this movie. Good set design.
Absolutely. Did you see that the one kit that Uncle Ben or like Grandpa Ben Sr., I don't care.
Big Ben.
Big Ben, thank you. The one kit that he sold was to the Russian guy.
No.
Oh, is that who he sold it to?
I'm pretty sure I saw it in the background of Russian guy's apartment.
Nice.
Yeah, because he just sells it and he's like, I only sold one set anyways. And I'm pretty sure it was in Russian guy's apartment.
I did not notice that. Why is this movie so intent on hiding all its best jokes when it's just focusing on shit and piss?
It might have been that like the crew was in their own little world with their own inside jokes. So to make up for being on a crap set, they have their own fun day to day to see what the directors or whatnot like didn't catch.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
Makes sense.
The best joke could be entirely not up to the writer or anyone.
Maybe the fucking set designer should have been writing this script. So we meet Junior's supposed Tormento, who is a 30-year-old man who appears to have been held back in the 6th grade since the mid-70s. And I guess they just abandoned this plot thread pretty early because we only see this guy a couple more times in the film.
Yeah.
And like so much in this film, he is just of zero consequence to anything in the movie. These guys obviously butt heads, and then these kids come flying out of this classroom like Junior just pulled an AR-15, but no, he has somehow sellotaped the bully character to the chalkboard despite this guy weighing like 200 pounds more than him. And again, physics just don't exist in this world.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was duct taped to a pole. I can tell you that that's not how that works.
Okay, pause. Let's go into this for a second.
Yeah. All right, problem child. This was back when I was in 5th grade. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was elementary school, and I don't know, I just had this problem with the principal. And I don't know, I was just very much into doing like harmless inconveniences. So yeah, my friends at some point just got me like a crate, and I stood up on one of the poles. It was like just off of school property. And yeah, they just duct taped me fully and took away the box, and there I was hanging on the pole for no reason. And principal comes waltzing out and he's like, "What you doing?" And I was like, hanging out. And and so he calls my mother and she's like, "Okay, what do you want me to do about it?" "Well, shouldn't you come by and pick her up?" And she's, "Well, is she hurting anyone?" "Well, no." "Well, is she hurting herself?" "No." "Well, is it illegal? Is she breaking any laws or rules?" "Well, no." "Okay, well then she'll take care of herself," and like hangs up on him.
Thanks, Mom.
Right? She was like weirdly supportive of my shenanigans. But yeah.
I'm so glad that it was your own choice to be duct taped and that we weren't just like dredging up some kind of childhood trauma here.
No, that part was fine.
God damn.
Yeah.
Roddy, you ever been duct taped to anything?
Thankfully not.
No, me neither.
I haven't been duct taped or duct taped anybody, so...
We should change that.
I see you being duct taped to something in your near future.
Mm-hmm.
I will make sure to check your bags.
Remind me to go to Walmart to just get a bunch of duct tape.
And also ropes.
If we make a pit stop on any road trip, like, why are we here?
Yeah, exactly. You gotta add more items in there that make you look like a serial killer.
Oh, great.
That's a favorite pastime of mine in Home Depot, is just buying like plastic tarps and sharp bladed objects and some rope and then running it through the checkout and just seeing if it gets a reaction. And it never does because it's Home Depot and they're not paid enough to fucking care about what I'm buying. So.
Yeah, they're all really numb there.
Isn't that just like retail?
True. True.
Also, that was the much more gripping story than the entire story of Problem Child.
Yeah.
It's like beginning, middle, end. This movie was just gag after gag until there was no growth, nothing. They're still the same exact people in the end, except now with a significant other.
Do you know what's weird is this movie was written by the two guys that wrote Ed Wood, the Tim Burton movie, which in my humble opinion is Tim Burton's best movie.
I've never seen it.
It seems like a very weird leap to go from Problem Child 2 to a movie of that caliber, but
you know, people have some down periods, or he was just trying to make a paycheck to fund Ed Wood. I don't know.
Yeah, Yeah, sure.
I mean, both of these movies were heavily edited and reshot, right? Their original vision might have been slightly different.
Yeah, it kind of just feels as though they kept writing and writing and writing until they said, you don't have any more time. And it's like, well, okay, all right.
Yeah, so this movie came out less than 18 months after the first Problem Child.
That's pretty quick.
They bounced straight into it so the kid wouldn't age.
I think I remember reading that the two guys that wrote it, I think they were basically kind of pressured into it by the studio, and I think they just drove a dump truck full of money up to their front door and said, just please do this. We need more. And I guess this is what we got as a result.
Did it make as much? Because, like, it makes...
No.
Okay. Probably, like, it makes sense to capitalize it while it's fresh.
Off the top of my head, I think the first Problem Child did like, and this is like 1990 numbers, it did like 40 million. And Problem Child 2 did 21 million, so it did exactly half. But also part of that is that Problem Child 2 had the smarts to open on the same day as Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which was the biggest grossing movie of that year. So
That's a good sequel.
you know,
Suckers.
I guess if you were presented with a choice of sequels that weekend, you're plumping for Arnie. So we cut to our introduction to poor Lorraine Newman as LaWanda, who I guess is the movie's villain, even though it doesn't really do much to make her villainous other than she's rich and she's been married a few times and she thinks Junior is a little shit.
Did you notice that Ben was all 7 of her husbands?
She definitely has a type.
That was so strange.
I want to know what the fucking deal is with Sea Captain John Ritter. I want to know what that movie is because that looked intriguing.
How old could she possibly be? Is she like timeless? Does she just get married every year?
Well, we find out she has access to the best plastic surgeons, so
she could be super old.
yeah. Lorraine Newman, she was on SNL in like the 70s, and
Oh, no way.
she was always kind of funny, but unfortunately, like everybody that was on SNL in the 70s, she just got caught up in like a tornado of drug consumption, and she's like admitted to like literally snorting heroin and whatnot. But I guess she got it together, and her reward for getting it together was being fourth billed in Problem Child 2.
Yikes.
But, you know, let's not feel too bad for her. She does a bunch of voice work. She's in Bob's Burgers. She was on Avatar The Last Airbender. I'm sure she's doing fine. And I just hope that she doesn't die between when we're recording this and when this podcast goes out.
Oh, good Lord.
Otherwise, we're going to look pretty foolish.
Goodness, jinxing that.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe.
I just knocked on wood, therefore we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ben Healy Ben Healy gets nailed in the head by a satellite dish. The bully pushes off the roof. And he ends up in the nurse's office. And this is where we get to meet Nurse Annie, who is played by John Ritter's real-life wife,
No.
Amy Yazbek.
oh, really?
Did they fall in love in this movie?
He was actually married to somebody else, and they met on the set of Problem Child 1, and they kind of hit it off.
So is like this generation's Mrs. Smith?
Yeah, I think it's something along those lines. So as I said, she was in Problem Child 1, and she actually played John Ritter's wife in Problem Child 1.
What's up with that's weird?
Yeah, that's like such a weird casting choice.
Same actress?
Yeah, same actress, Amy Yazbek.
Is there like subtext there that you can't get over your ex and you're always just looking for exact replica?
So she's kind of the polar opposite of what her character is in Problem Child 1. In Problem Child 1, her character is very kind of socially climbing. She absolutely hates this kid. And yet here she's kind of the depiction of sweetness and light. It's definitely very strange that they brought back the same actress. I mean, I guess it's the gag. It's not a very good one. It's not a very funny one, but fucking this is Problem Child 2. What are you going to do?
Yeah, people watching it would definitely get confused, I think.
Sure. And Amy Yazbek was in like, I don't know, she's not in much anymore. I think she was in the TV show Wings. She was in The Mask.
She was in Robin Hood.
Oh yeah, Men in Tights.
I think she was in another Mel Brooks movie as well. Was she in the Dracula Mel Brooks movie that came out a few years after Robin Hood?
Oh, Dead and Loving It? I know I watched that movie.
It's not good.
I blocked it out of my mind.
And this is also the point where we meet Trixie. We've seen her a couple of times in the movie before, but we're properly introduced to her. She's played by an actress called Ivy Ann Schwan. But this actress, she was also in the Steve Martin movie Parenthood, and then after this film, she just quit acting completely.
I don't blame her.
Yeah, I guess maybe you feel like you've peaked.
Oh, she was in Bill Nye, and she was on Jenny Jones for some reason. I'm not sure I want to know why.
Whoa, that's a throwback.
I'm not familiar with Jenny Jones. Jones.
She wasn't as openly trashy as Maury Povich was, but Jenny Jones was the show where they famously had an episode about crushes, and a gay man came out to his friend as having a crush on him, and then later on the friend, I think, murdered him or
Holy
something.
shit!
And it was a big deal in the talk show world at the time. It was a big controversy. And so she had been considered kind of one of the tamer ones before that, and then I think her career kind of started to go in the toilet after that.
I mean, rightfully so.
There's like a shady history of chat show hosts having guests do insidious shit to one another. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Jeremy Kyle show.
You made us watch it that one time at Alex. That's an inside joke, yeah.
Okay, that's a little inside baseball that I made you guys watch Jeremy Kyle once, but his show got cancelled after one of his guests straight up killed himself.
Really?
Because he was concerned about how he was going to appear on the show.
Damn.
And Jeremy Kyle kind of peddled that kind of fucking, prodding and poking people for a reaction.
Yeah.
And he's a piece of shit, and fuck that guy, and I hope he never has a TV show ever again. But
yeah, that was his whole shtick, was that he would like literally attack the people that went on there. It wasn't like Springer or like Steve, where it's just kind of like a mediator to kind of egg people on so that they make themselves look stupid. Like Jeremy would just attack them like straight up.
Yeah.
So
he'd feign compassion at the end of those interviews, but that was tacked on as an afterthought.
Yeah.
Like I say, he's done, and the world is a better place without his garbage show.
From like Jeremy Kyle to like Maury Povich. I can't remember this kid's name, but the problem child in this problem child movie is not so much a problem in comparison to the shitty adults in his world, and I guess the adults in the world of the 90s. Seems like when I watched this film, I was like, why is everyone in this film such like trash? Then I'm wondering, like, are like the 90s just a period of time where like it just sucked?
Maybe I've got rose tinted glasses on for the 90s, but it didn't fucking suck as much as the world we're living in right now. But then
true,
I was 12, so not a lot of things sucked to me other than fucking cartoons getting pulled off the air and stuff.
That's true.
Apparently this little girl's mother was her manager and was also deeply religious, so much so that she turned down an audition for her daughter for the role of Claudia in the film Interview with a Vampire.
Damn.
That's a pretty racy role in that movie. That was Kirsten Dunst played that role in the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and it fucking made her career too, probably.
I admit I kind of creepy looked up this Ivy-Ann Schwan on Instagram just to kind of see where she's at nowadays. And she seems fine. She seems happy, so good for her. I guess she came through like the whole Hollywood child star thing fairly unscathed, but obviously she has no fucking desire to get back into the world of making movies.
It's a pretty intense world.
I mean, yeah, like I say, watch that Alex Winter documentary. It's a real eye-opener and kind of heartbreaking to watch as well. We meet Trixie. She is the titular second problem child, I guess, of this film. And she proceeds to just beat the living piss out of Junior. And automatically becomes my MVP of the movie, so good on her.
She hoses him with a fire hose, which normally takes multiple people to hold on to.
Yeah, she's a 7-year-old. Why not?
7-year-old with like good with a fire hose and also carries dynamite,
So John Ritter has a hot date and he dumps Junior with this babysitter, and this babysitter, she seems pretty content to just be sat on her ass watching some documentary about pigs for some reason, and she's like shoveling a bag of Ruffles into her face. I personally did not have babies. I was very much a latchkey kid. My parents were not invested in the idea of having paying somebody money to look after me when I could look after myself. Did you guys have babysitters?
Not very often. I mean, after a certain age, we were just latchkey kids, or rather, I was a latchkey kid.
So I don't know what latchkey kids means, to Google that.
Oh, it means like your parents work a lot, and rather than hiring a babysitter, they just leave you at home and tell you not to open the door.
I had a babysitter for a good amount of time.
Oh man, that intake of breath.
Do we have time for a story?
It's story time. Let's go.
Okay, so when I was in first grade, from what I remember, she was great. I really did love her. Her name was Rebecca, and she was like a high school student, right? But she lived across the street, so my parents would just say like, hey, can you just take her home? So the way that our schools worked is my elementary school was like literally kitty corner from where the high school was. So all she had to do is walk across the field, and then we would walk home because she's right there, and it's just, hang out with her for 2 hours. We'll give you $20. So in first grade, I had just visited with my grandfather and my step-grandmother, I guess, and I believe she's Inuit. So I had got like this whole setup, and I had like this little jacket on, and I was so excited about it, and I brought it for show and tell, and I wouldn't take it off because it was such an important thing to me, and she forgot me. So I was standing in the schoolyard waiting for her to come pick me up, and then it just started raining. So I'm just in my jacket, and it's like really cold. I think it's about this time. It's like October, and it's just raining sideways. So I remember just going underneath like the awning and crying to myself because I've been forgotten. And my grade 1 teacher found me as she's going to her car, and she's like, "Oh my God." And she just like scoops me up, brings me back inside, calls my mom, and my mom's like freaking out. So she comes, gets me, and then Rebecca comes like running over to our house, and she's like, "I'm so sorry." And my mom's like, "What the hell?" Like she was waiting outside because I was told never to leave without her. Yeah, that was one of the saddest things, is I'm just standing there in my little jacket.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, like other than that, it was pretty fun.
Other than being forgotten.
Other than that really traumatic time
In
that
the
probably is like deep rooted in my abandonment issues.
So, I mean, apart from the wanton child neglect, nobody had a babysitter that behaved like this, I guess.
No.
So Junior calls up the ex-husband of Ritter's date, and he's this sad sack Eastern European guy, and he's eating a tin of dog food in his underwear because this movie is disgusting, and it's just fucking a nod for those people that care. This guy's played by Ed Norton's boss from Fight Club. He's in a bunch of other stuff as well. So Junior rats him out, and this ex rolls up to the restaurant, and he just starts beating people brutally with a metal bar to try and win his wife back. And the person that he beats most is John Ritter, which means this guy has now had 2 major head traumas in one day, and he should go to a fucking hospital.
But remember, this world physics are different. People can get blown up by propane.
Yep.
Yeah, and then once he fights back, she's just like, "What are you doing?" And then she beats him too, and it's like, well, you know what? You two deserve each other. What's wrong with you?
I think so. I think that relationship probably wasn't ready to end at the point it did.
Hence them making out in his car as he drives them home.
Yeah, when that happened, I was like, why? Like, what decision?
Yeah, why does he drive them home?
It was like something like, you know, it'd be funny if he drives them home. Even if it makes completely illogical sense from any human being standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's just to show that he's compassionate and he's a nice
He's too
guy.
nice of a guy.
Exactly. So then, sure, we're neighbors. I'll drive you to the general vicinity of where we live as you make out in my car. Thank you.
So we go back to the house, and this gross fucking babysitter's boyfriend has turned up on his motorcycle. So they proceed to head upstairs to copulate, and Junior somehow manages to hook up a video camera to a projector, and he just blasts the footage of these 2 horny teens fucking on the side of the house. So I guess he's an amateur pornographer now, and the entire neighborhood comes out to watch this, and it's just fucking weird and gross. And this is a movie for children, remember?
Oh, is it?
This is a children's film.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think they get totally naked,
No.
but I mean, it's still kind of implied they're having.
I guess hijinks or whatnot are a bit darker. Like Home Alone, like people get physically hurt, and like I guess the same thing happens here.
Without consequences.
I want to know what position they decided, because they started going up the side of the wall. So I'm just like, what is that?
Oh my god.
What were they doing? Like,
They're teenagers, right? You know,
yeah, I suppose.
they'll try shit.
Yeah, I feel like there's some Spider-Man genes in them because it just kind of vertical.
After this, Jack Warden shows up as Grandpa Ben Healy. Again,
yes.
a holdover from the first movie. I guess his deal is that he hates John Ritter and he dislikes Junior as well. And here comes the dog. He's got this little Jack Russell called Nippy that automatically takes a dislike to this kid. Laura, as our resident dog expert, what did we make of Nippy?
I love Nippy. I like literally in my notes, I don't know, I was really kind of coasting through this movie till the dog showed up. And then everything was great. But
it's usually how we hook you into a movie is we show you a movie with a dog in it.
And it was Big Ben, does he matter at all? And then it was best dog, winner, good movie. And then it went to bad movie because they kicked the dog outside.
They mistreat this dog and it's kind of awful, but again, this is Problem Child 2 and this is it's wheelhouse.
I must admit that there is the scene in the, like, that doesn't matter, by the way, but, you know, with Junior and the dog.
Nothing matters in this movie.
Nothing matters. So there was Junior and the dog later on that I'm sure you'll recap. That kind of made me laugh a little bit, and then it just didn't add up to anything. So I'm just like, what's the point? Literally, what is the point? And it just feels like they were just like, okay, we're gonna write this movie and there's gonna be so many things and it's gonna add up and it's gonna all make sense. And then they just said, no, end it right now.
Okay, when did they introduce the love meteor? Because like that for me is when they're like, oh, okay, we need to have some sort of ending.
Yeah.
And that was like,
oh no, that was introduced at the beginning of the film because it's on the town sign, home of the Love Rock or
so
some
there was
shit.
actual some sort of structure. They knew they were gonna
They probably added that in when they couldn't figure out how to end the movie, and they were like, it's a rock and it's magic.
There's actually a scene with a slideshow where James Tolkien is showing these kids a slideshow, and he talks about the history of the town, and it is ever so briefly mentioned, and it's like literally you could completely miss this, but it is mentioned that Lorraine Newman, the Lawanda, her family stole the Love Rock from the Native Americans. They stole it, and apparently it's like the main tourist attraction of this town. You know, it's like the giant ball of twine or whatever.
And it brings the movie together.
Barely.
Okay, guys, I was trying to find some sort of thread to follow in this movie, and for me, I gravitated to the love meteor. It was the most, I guess, original part.
Why does it glow? I don't get that.
That's a good point. Why does it glow? Is this a thing fucking radioactive? Is that why everybody in this movie has superhuman strength?
That would explain a lot.
There we go. It's a superhero origin movie.
That would explain why everybody in this town can't die.
So we're not like reading between the lines. That was the movie we all missed.
Problem Child 2 is a superhero movie.
I mean, if this is a superhero movie, then does that mean that we can do an Avengers style movie with all of these early 90s kids all teaming up? You can have fucking Kevin from Home Alone, the baby from Baby's Day Out.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on fucking any.
Look Who's Talking.
Oh, the Look Who's Talking kid, of course.
Oh man, I think you have to do it one where it's like Macaulay Culkin and all his characters he's ever played into one movie. Problem Child 2 is one of the ones where like it's like a movie where you want to, but then you realize there's so much better movies, so it's so easy to want to jump to that other. But you're like, no, I have to finish this movie. Maybe there's a reward at the end of it. Nope.
The reward is that it's done. That is the reward.
Can we talk about how much shit is in Junior's room? This kid, there's like pinball machines, an arcade machine. His bed has a cockpit. I don't know what the cockpit does. It shows him playing with it. I don't know if he's imagining stuff happening or if there's a screen. He has a dollhouse, which is later explained, because when it's first shown, I'm like, oh, he has a dollhouse. And then later on, totally explained. And then the new girlfriend moves in and takes all that shit away and replaces it with clowns.
But like, why was it all redecorated, but that dollhouse was allowed to stay? Like, wouldn't you think that like either her or her designers would see that and be like, you know what, we should probably remove this because this is going to turn into a thing? Like, what? Are you serious?
But then they're probably like, well, how will we fit the cockroach scene later on? That's why we have to keep this. It holds the movie together, Laura.
No, it does not.
And they took it out.
The grandpa literally says this room is a little small, which it isn't. It just has a bunch of shit in it.
And why is grandpa rooming with Junior in the first place? They've literally just bought a house, and at the start of the movie they're going on about how big this house is. Why is grandpa suddenly forced to...
Also, the circus wagon bed had bars on it, and I could not for the life of me figure out how he got in there. It didn't seem to have an opening on it.
It has like a hatch on top, and they just drop him in.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it just makes sense logistically. If she does not want him to leave, then yes, you stay in there and I will lock you in for the night because then you can't do anything.
A literal cage.
Here come these two weird little Shining twins again. And this time they're running the lemonade stand, and like we said, they're charging $2 a glass. We didn't have lemonade stands in the UK. This was not a thing. Is $2 a glass unreasonable? It seems pretty extortionate.
In 1990, yes, especially. One time Brian and I were out for an epic walk, and we passed these two little girls running a lemonade stand. And Brian, of course, immediately wanted to buy lemonade from them. And it was like, I don't know, 50 cents a cup or something. And we went to drink it. And as we were walking away, it didn't have any sugar in it. None at all. But he did not flinch. He just kind of sipped it, looked at them and nodded and was like, good stuff.
That's so sweet.
I've seen your husband eat some weird stuff, so that doesn't fucking surprise me.
Ruth.
That man has an iron palate.
When I was a kid, I did the exact same thing. But I was the runner of the lemonade stand, but it was like fruit punch. But here we go. When I was a kid, of course, I like dyed my hair the different colors. So after each like hair trim, I would pick up a little bit of piece so then I can see like what my color hair was at the time. But I just put it in like this little container thing. And I had found it and I was just like, oh, it's my hair wad, Pierre.
Gross.
So I also had on my sign, meet Pierre for 10 cents. I did get some business and people were like, okay, what's Pierre? And they would slide the dime and then I would just pull this wad of hair out of my pocket and show it to people.
I mean, that's...
And you named it Pierre.
I named it Pierre. He's gone. Yeah.
Oh, I would have given you 10 cents to meet Pierre.
It was like this blue purplish mess. It was just like this wad of hair and people were like, great. And then they'd leave. And I felt so bad because it was during my parents' garage sale. And they would come see me because they're like, oh, look, it's a little stand. And then they're like, okay, what's Pierre? And I'm like, here you go. And they're like, I don't want to be near this family. I'm just going to go.
You're a regular little P.T. Barnum.
A little.
Oh my god.
So Junior offers to go and help them with the lemonade stand. He offers to refill their jug, and this little Helion fucking fills it with his own piss. And this piss lasts a long time. Like, I've had nights of drinking where I haven't peed as long as this kid did. And then the twins' asshole dad pops up out of nowhere, and he just straight up necks this glass of this kid's urine. Again, because this movie is gross, and nothing that happens in it has any real consequence.
Yeah, when that happened, I was like, okay, there's two ways that this could go. You'll either freak out or love it. And that's the thing with this joke. There's like no other way you can take this joke and make it like this unpredictable thing. Because there's two ways it can go. Nothing else.
And yet the movie doesn't do either, and it just kind of fucking hits right for the middle of the road where this guy he twitches a little bit and shrugs it the fuck off.
I was gonna say, because like, I feel like most movies of this nature, like you can rank them, like it's the body fluid gag. And I'm like, this wasn't up there in the rank of all the movies with a body fluid gag.
It's no semen in the fucking beer cup from American Pie, right?
It's weird. I actually thought of that movie too.
Yeah, I was thinking of a different American Pie movie. I think it was the Reunion one. I don't know. Stifler eats a dog turd. I don't know why.
Those films are also vile.
It was very unnecessary.
We might be getting to them yet.
So essentially the same comedy that's in an R-rated film is in this movie.
Yes.
Basically.
It's on the same level as in Van Wilder when they jerked off a dog.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Into a donut.
Also, that has a sequel.
Is it The Rise of Taj? I think it's all about Kal Penn's character.
Oh, I like Kal Penn.
God, no.
I mean, I like Kal Penn too, but...
I liked him better in Harold and Kumar. I didn't...
See what I mean? You think of other movies that are funnier, because now I'm thinking about Harold and Kumar when the guy gets shot and he's like, bullets, my only weakness. I was like...
Good movie. We go back to the school and Trixie flips off this kid, so Junior chases her and he proclaims that this bitch must die.
Yeah, a little harsh.
Because he's clearly a fucking incel.
Well, I think we knew going in this movie, I think you know from the beginning of the first scene, yeah, this is written by a dude and they have no clear understanding.
Oh yeah.
Of
two dudes.
How women work whatsoever, or I don't know, or had any type of input from a female perspective in this entire film.
Yeah, I don't know, because he just screams, oh, this bitch must die, and then he leaves and he's like, oh shoot, immediately after. And I'm like, these are way too level, they're super different. What are you talking about? You're not even consistent with the way that this kid talks. Spikes suddenly, and he's like, well, never mind then. It's I get that he was trying to, be cheeky and lure her out, but even still.
Let's talk about why the fuck this kid is carrying around weapons-grade explosives in school. Did kids just carry fucking large firecrackers around?
This was in the early days of Bart Simpson, and I believe there was some similar jokes in first or second season that he does with them.
Okay, has anybody ever dropped an M80 down a fucking toilet, by the way?
No.
Have you?
No, we didn't. We did not have access to things like M80s in the UK. We weren't allowed to have fireworks. You had to be an adult to get that shit.
No, you have to be an adult here too. It's just that, I don't know, people didn't care, maybe.
We went on a school trip to France once, and you could buy firecrackers over there. So we just loaded the fuck up on these firecrackers, and we were just dropping them all around France, just setting off firecrackers. But we had a load left, and our teacher found out, and she confiscated everybody's apart from mine because I hid them in a shoe.
The original shoe bomber.
So I managed to sneak these firecrackers back into the UK, and we had a lot of fun basically putting them in cow shit and watching it explode. Because that was my childhood.
That sounds amazing.
It was amazing at the time. In retrospect, it seems a little like a waste of explosives.
Now, the joke with the teacher running to the toilet is kind of foreshadowed earlier, because when we first meet him, we see a bottle of Maalox on his desk, which kind of, I guess, implies that he tends to eat the wrong things.
What's Maalox?
It's like an antacid base. It's kind of like
okay,
Pepto-Bismol.
okay.
It's kind of an antacid. I don't know. It's somewhere in that vein. It's for people with stomach problems. I think it's like a milk of magnesia thing.
And this M80, it nukes the plumbing in this school right in the middle of the teacher taking her shit. But nobody mentions it ever again because, again, nothing fucking matters in this film.
He shoots into the air and seems to think that he just took a really ginormous shit. It doesn't seem to occur to him that somebody has done this to him and not that he's done this to himself. Like, he's like, oh, thank God. Like, I guess he was just more relieved to take his epic dump.
If your epic dump is lifting you 20 foot in the air, then you need to fucking see a doctor. You need to seek medical attention.
Yeah.
Later on in the movie, he's wearing a diaper, and he seems relatively unbothered by that as well.
Wait,
on parent-teacher night.
Yeah.
Well, you were like catching all these good things, yeah.
The parent-teacher night, he's wearing a diaper. I guess it's made out of bandages, but
Wait,
like, it's a diaper. Yes, it's definitely
You guys didn't notice?
It's just a momentary gag where later on, when Junior's touring the classroom with his dad, it cuts to the teacher and he's talking to one of the other parents and he's literally got no pants on and he's wearing a diaper made out of bandages.
Absolutely did not register this.
And he just does not seem to give a shit. That's the best part. He isn't even trying to hide it. He's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I guess this happens to him every week. I don't know.
This movie is just hiding all its fucking best jokes. So Junior mouths off to Grandpa one more time, and Grandpa's kind of had it, and he's ready to give this kid a whooping. But then Junior fucking whips out a pair of nunchucks
Yes, amazing.
for some reason, because apparently somebody thought it was a good idea to arm this kid with fucking fighting weapons.
So good.
He sends Grandpa sailing out of the window, and then we cut to the most infamous fucking scene in this film. This is just rancid.
Oh, right, because they go to the carnival.
And Junior gets all uppity because he's too short for some shitty midway ride, so he enacts his vengeance, as he is wont to do, by tampering with the hydraulics of this thing, and he ramps the speed all the way up, and everybody on this ride just starts puking their ever-loving guts up all over the place, and there are torrents of grey vomit just streaming out of people's mouths for a good 2 minutes.
I appreciated it more on the second viewing. I was like, okay, yeah, this is resembling a John Waters movie just a little bit. And the joke goes on and on and on and on. And I can appreciate the fact that it does that. Because it's so close to being art. It isn't. But in some perverse, fucked up way, it comes very close to being art in just how over the top it is. Because it really goes for it. Like, it's not half-assed about that joke at all.
I would side with you on that, because like when I was watching it, I was like, because you guys are like, before watching this, you guys were prepping like, oh, be prepared. And so when it happened, I was like, honestly, this is on the level of a Family Guy joke. So it's a Family Guy joke that is now like fully realized in live action. And I was like, so I didn't see him. I'm like, this comedy still works today for some people. So it wasn't like Futurama had like thing where like every day I'm in agony and I think it just barfed all the time, or was that also Family Guy?
I mean, I know Family Guy has done gags like this.
Oh, probably, yeah.
But like they spent so much time on it. They had like a green screen. They had like my only question is why everyone is eating the exact same type of food to make it just like this beige stream.
They're at a fair. It's all popcorn and nonsense.
They have only so much much special effects budget for the vomit, Roddy.
But I just love that it was like clearly coming out from behind them.
Oh, so good.
So
that
you
was
could
great.
tell that it was like a tube that was here, and it was just like. Bleh.
Everybody's just covered in vomit by the end of it. And somehow Junior still gets blamed. I mean, he's responsible for it, but I mean, it gets traced back to him somehow. We don't find out how that happens.
The reality is, though, like, if we're like, I know we shouldn't question the physics or like the logic of this world.
Yeah.
But like, what world will they actually create a ride that you can make the level go even further than should never be possible? It's like danger.
Yeah.
There's literally a level that goes dangerous. So then why have it be able to go there?
Why does that level exist? Who manufactured this ride?
It's just a safety hazard. So I was like, fine, this is the world.
Yeah, this scene just, I mean, I guess 12-year-old me thought this was pretty funny, but watching it now, I'm kind of embarrassed by it. I'm just like...
Could it be from like the point of view of trying to relate to, I'm trying to see the silver lining, to relate to a child? Like, who hasn't gone to amusement park ride and then thrown up after?
I can safely say I have never thrown up on an amusement park ride.
What? I feel like when it's 2021, we'll go to see any.
Cohen and I, a couple of years ago, we tried the thing where deep fried candy bars were just a thing. So
I'm Scottish, so deep fried candy bars have always been a thing.
Here, so at the
We
CNE,
invented that shit.
I bet you did.
Deep fried everything.
But we decided to scarf down. So I had a deep fried Mars bar and he had a deep fried Snickers. And then we took like a good chunk of Sprite and we downed that too. And then we started going on a bunch of spinny rides to try and see who could stomach it first. And
You just tested yourself.
yeah, it was
barfing
just like who's
contest?
better than the other. And it got to the point where we had spent all of our tickets and both of us were feeling so bad, but we couldn't get it out. So we had to go home defeated, and we just felt like the worst. You know when you're drinking and you're like, I'd feel a lot better if I just threw up right now.
Oh god, yeah.
So it was exactly that.
That's the
where I'm
second
like,
win.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? If I could do it, but like we just could not get rid of the feeling. And now whenever I even hear the words deep fried Mars bar, like I feel sick.
I'm just imagining like, hey, do you want to go to the CNE today? Yeah, what do you want to do? I know exactly what I want to do.
I'm picturing them going home at the end of the night and just spinning each other and taking turns spinning each other in like an office chair.
It just sucked because like we had the like bags and everything and we're trying so hard. We're just like, okay, on the ride home, like I'm sure I'm gonna throw up. And it just wasn't happening. And it prolonged the suffering until for like a day, like a full day. I was just nauseous and there's nothing I could do about it.
See, that gag was a conversation piece for this film.
That is how you do that.
Families will watch it and be like, hey, I don't know. Do you imagine like being like a producer on this and you're like reading the script and you're like, oh, I gotta figure out how to make this work.
Yeah, I like the idea that it was just everyone throws up and then that's it.
There's like a checklist of shit to have in the movie, and one of it is lots of vomiting.
That's
and
a
the guy's
budget.
like,
So anyway, they get home to find that Lorraine Newman has slid her feet under the table by remodeling their entire house, as we already mentioned. And she's got like a fucking fish tank shaped like a gas pump for some reason, and there's all kinds of weird shit in there.
a lot of wine racks.
This obviously charms John Ritter's character because almost out of nowhere, they both get engaged.
Yeah.
And of course, Junior hates this because the notion of any kind of female presence in his world is obviously a big no-no, and this kid is just firing off red flags every fucking step of the way.
I'd argue that it's not because of like it's like another figure. He just wants attention.
Mood.
But does he not realize that he could double up on that attention?
Yeah, but no, like every girl he's been with, as soon as he's with that girl, he completely just forgets about his feelings, just kind of brushes them off. And so like essentially he just wants time with his dad, and then no one gives him it.
Yep.
Like he gets nothing from these adults. I tried to find the character of this movie.
The parenting in this movie is fucking atrocious.
So yeah, when I watched it, I was like, I remember like thinking problem child, like no, it's just the adult. The adults suck in this.
So this movie should be called Problem Parent.
Exactly.
Yes. Ben solves his inability to parent with buying his kid lots of stuff and lots of treats. And that seems to be like that's the only way he knows how to relate to his kid is by spoiling him.
Lorraine Newman cooks dinner, which is nice of her, I guess. But Junior obviously doesn't like this, so he unleashes his army of cockroaches that he's been keeping in that dollhouse. Why? Why does he have an army of cockroaches?
Were roach motels like actually a thing? Because I feel as though this isn't the first time I've heard the term and or like seen it in a movie.
That's what you put down when you want to kill them, isn't it?
Yeah, that rings a bell. I mean, again, we didn't have a big cockroach problem where I grew up, but I'm familiar with the notion of roach motels being like traps, right?
Yeah.
So why Junior has a huge one of these in his bedroom and why somebody signed off on that, I don't know. So they're all falling around and everybody's like being grossed out by being covered in cockroaches. Well, this kid who is wearing this bizarre outfit while he does this, he is basically laughing his ass off and eating a candy bar.
Although I did enjoy the wide shot that it ended. I was like, oh, this is a nice shot.
Did you notice that Jack Warden punches John Ritter in the nuts in that shot and it looks like it's not scripted because John Ritter looks genuinely hurt by getting a nut shot from this old guy?
Amazing.
I did not.
What old guy? Who's this?
The grandpa, he punches him right in the balls.
Oh.
See, I can notice things in this movie too.
We need to make that into a GIF.
Sure. Animal control shows up to warn the
Yeah,
neighborhood
what? Yes.
that apparently there is a rabies outbreak. And of course, Junior has hypnotized this dog for some reason.
He was trying to get him to attack Lawanda, and the hypnotism didn't work. The dog was frozen, so he tossed the dog in the bushes
Bad movie.
and then left him there for like half the movie.
Bad movie. Ridiculous.
And then the grandpa discovers him and is totally heartbroken.
These animal control guys, they're clearly gay, and that apparently is hilarious to this movie.
Wait, what?
Was that a joke? Was that a bit?
I mean, I guess this movie thinks that's a bit.
I did not clock that either.
What?
One of them is kind of getting amorous in front of the kid with the other guy, and the other guy like kind of shuts him down, and apparently that's...
Look, not here, not right now. Like,
Oh, okay.
I think there's like a point when you're in this movie where you just kind of like get oversaturated. So like that flew by me.
Yeah. No, my mind may have wandered off a few times when I watched this movie.
yeah.
So they feed him this sloppy dog food to try and break him out of the hypnosis, and sure enough, Nippy snaps out of it, and he dumps out a turd literally 4 times his own size because we haven't seen
Yep.
poop yet in this movie, and we needed to complete the bodily excretion hat trick.
I had to check that off the list. But that other guy ate the same dog food, and I don't know if he took a giant crap.
He was quite thin.
Maybe that's what the teacher was eating.
Probably.
The teacher was
Do you think
eating
that's
dog
it?
food.
Everybody's just eating.
The only safe food in this town is dog food, and it's not that safe.
So Junior swaps Lorraine Newman's blood sample for one of a rabid dog, and I've got to admit, I kind of laughed at this.
Yeah.
This moment in this movie where the guy in the lab is analyzing the blood sample and it just cuts to a cartoon of some rabid parasites biting one another. Probably the only time I laughed out loud at this film.
Yeah.
Once again, my mind wandered a few times.
At this point in the movie, it's easily done. They now think that Lorraine Newman's character has rabies, so she gets carted off to hospital.
In the middle of her wedding shower, which has to have been like her 12th wedding shower or whatever.
Surely that gets to a point where you just say, I'm sorry, I can't make your wedding shower because I've already been to 6 of these fucking things.
She's rich, though, so I'm sure they're always interested.
Somebody made a comment, though. They were just like, oh, you're always the most beautiful bride.
Yeah, and she thinks the animal control guy is a
Oh,
stripper.
that's right.
And then he thinks she's foaming at the mouth because she's like drinking.
Oh,
some
she
kind
eats
of-
like an eclair or something, right? And she has
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah,
cream
yeah.
around her mouth. So they put her in a straitjacket because apparently that's what you do to people who have rabies.
They tie her to the bed, which is a little excessive.
They're at the hospital and Junior switches her chart with some guy who claims he's having surgery to give him the biggest nose in history so he can become famous, because I know for sure that if I was going to surgically alter part of my anatomy in the pursuit of fame, it would definitely be my nose.
I think it was originally in the script written to be a dick joke, and then somebody was like, you can't do that, it's a kid's movie. And they're like, I don't know, his nose.
It's like, you can't do that's a kid's movie, but here are the other things that you could do.
So Ritter and the kid, they end up going to the restaurant, and Annie and Trixie are there, and these kids call a truce when they realize that their parents are actually a good match. And Gilbert Gottfried is at the restaurant with some date that is way, way out of his league.
Yep.
And he just starts shouting at these kids for no real good reason. You know, they're kind of minding their own business, and he starts screaming at them. And guess what? There's a food fight. And I don't know what food they're serving in this pizza place, but holy shit, it looks like it is made of sex lubricant, and it is fucking
Yes,
gross.
the The cheese is very viscous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gooey. Weird.
I have no idea what the fuck these people are eating, but it is vile again.
But dog food, probably. Dog food pizza.
Like, I think they hit the point where like food fight, but then I was like, what was happening in there?
They all join in.
Was it like they were getting closer together, the girl and the guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're defending our kids' honor.
Junior and Trixie, well, they start out by throwing meatballs down a woman's top, because that's hilarious. And then Gilbert Gottfried tries to fish it out, and the woman does not appreciate that at all. And then he throws food at them.
So it was kind of like, hey, these two kids can be friends. And then ta-da.
All it took was them to throw some sloppy fucking pizza at one another.
And then the parents join in, and then the entire restaurant joins in, hitting each other with crappy
And then the kids run off to make a wish at the Love Rock because they decide that their parents are better off together.
Grandpa tries to stop them, and then they tackle him to the ground.
They beat the shit out of Jack Warden. I don't know how, because these are like little pipsqueak kids, and Jack Warden just takes a beating from them. So they run off. It's not enough. The wedding is still going ahead because Newman, we see that she's had the surgery to give her this giant schnoz, but then she turns up at the wedding and Junior like trips her up to reveal this awful face job that she's had. But guess what? She's had it reversed by top surgeons, and she paid $382,000 to do it, which seems like an oddly specific number, but I guess movie if you say so. And then at the last minute, Trixie turns up driving a JCB because she's 7 and obviously she knows how to do that. And she's got the Love Rock loaded on the front of it, and she just bowls this thing down the middle of the aisle with like reckless abandon, and oof, it crushes Newman right as she's proclaiming how much she hates kids. And at this point, I'm kind of like, I'm with you on this one, lady.
I get it. Well, physics.
Yeah, no, she doesn't die. She just gets squashed into the solid ground. And Ritter and Yazbek, they decide to hook up, and Grandpa's determined not to let go of this golden goose, so he goes and rolls the rock off Lorraine Newman, and then they immediately hook up, but simply because he says he loves her, which I guess is giving her the attention that she so badly craves from a partner. And then Junior launches an M80 into the wedding cake, which then explodes into the air and lands on Jack Warden and Lorraine Newman. And then, because who doesn't love a good callback, Nippy unloads another gigantic turd right at their feet.
Genius.
And that is the end of the fucking movie.
Oh, my favorite part.
The credits? Yeah.
Ah, so good.
This was tough.
Ew, okay, even recapping it, it's like reliving the movie all over again, and I'm like, oh god.
It's really rough.
I forgot to mention, I actually, when all of a sudden it was revealed that, I can't even remember the names of the people in this film, the love interest reveals that it's her daughter. I was like, no way, didn't catch that. But yeah, that genuinely surprised me. I was like, oh, I should have caught that, but I feel like my mind wandered, but I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, I will say this about Trixie, kind of low-key the best character in this movie.
Oh, she's adorable.
The actress playing her, she's not like massively hamming it up in the same way as the kid playing Junior is.
Yeah, she just has a really adorable grumpy face.
That's right. She frowns like a champion.
Yeah.
I think this movie just didn't know what a family film was, or the family films at that time were just a different thing. So like, it just, I don't know. If it just entirely focused on Trixie and the problem child, I thought it would have been like a good movie.
Yeah.
Like it could have been. Like just focusing on him actually getting a friend for the first time and like actually not needing his dad, getting companionship from a friend. That's interesting. But instead it just repeated the same beat of like, Junior's upset because adults are mean. And then the movie ends.
Pretty much.
And then like insert random gangs, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. But but if you were asked to make a movie or write a script in probably less than what, a month maybe? If it was 8 months by the time it had to film or it was released, like I guess that's what happened.
But I mean, at the end of the day, how do you make only one enjoyable character in an entire movie?
Well, were the other characters enjoyable in the first movie?
That is a good question.
You just had to take those characters again and use them.
I don't think enjoyable is the right word. I kind of feel like the gags were a little stronger in the first movie and a little less reliant on just scatological humor that this movie just uses as a crutch anytime it runs out of ideas.
How do we end this scene? Giant dog turd.
But I think you looked it up. There are people that were like, it's one of my favorite films.
Yeah, there are a bunch of very weird people that seem to list this as being the fucking pinnacle of comedy.
Like, yeah, it's all to taste. Like, the thing is, like, I feel like it's not the worst movie in the world. I feel like that goes to Human Centipede 2.
I wouldn't know because I'm not touching that one.
But like, it was one of the ones like, it is what it is. It's of its time, and that's what people found funny. I guess I think maybe it's also just like very dated. Like, it's just one of the ones like, this is not a timeless classic.
Oh yes.
It's just like, this is a moment of time.
A bunch of people have given this movie 10 stars on IMDb.
Okay, that's an overreaction.
So I'll read you a review by Gerald O, who rated this movie 10 out of 10 in September 1999. And this is what he said. He said, "I think Problem Child 2 is one of the funniest movies of the early 90s. You may think I'm mentally disturbed, but for some reason I loved it. Critics may hate it, probably because they're too scared that they wouldn't get any respect if they told people they liked this movie. The movie was hysterical in a crude, tasteless fashion. Okay, scenes with projectile vomiting and urinating in drinks isn't everyone's idea of funny, but I think this movie pulled it off well. I hated the first one, but this one is a lot of fun to watch. John Ritter, both of them, fans will love it." You should have probably put the both of them after fans, because now it just makes it sound like there's two John Ritters, Gerald O. It was written by Scott Alexander and Larry Kasalski, that's also not the guy's name, who went on to do The People versus Larry Flint and Ed Wood, which, again, just seems like a weird jump. Go rent it someday. It's a lot better than that crap today with Adam Sandler in it. And this was written in 1999, before Adam Sandler was really making crap. I mean, Adam Sandler was still a fairly credible movie star at this point.
Was this before or after Happy Gilmore?
After Happy Gilmore, but Happy Gilmore's a good movie.
I haven't rewatched it, though.
Yeah, it's solid. I haven't seen it in years, and I probably won't rewatch it because I don't know if it'll hold up.
Is there a second one?
Oh, I'm afraid not.
Huh.
I think Billy Madison might be the better of those two movies. I think Billy Madison's kind of got like a weird sort of absurdist streak to it that a lot of people give it shit for, but...
I watched Pixels, and I will never forgive myself.
Ooh, yeah.
Good short film.
Because the opening scene takes place in my home. Well, it was shot in my hometown, but it's literally only like 5 seconds footage.
So will any of you watch this movie again?
No.
I hope I never see Problem Child 2 again as long as I live.
So was this kind of a way for having this as your selection? Was it just a way to say almost a goodbye to it? It's kind of like, I will never see you.
Put it to rest.
I mean, I wasn't like having fever dreams about this film up until this point. I didn't feel like I needed to exercise it from my fucking life, but
what a good way to go.
I'm glad that I don't have to watch it again.
Me too. No, I don't know. It's hard because like I feel like it's one of those films that like it's hard when it's like a film that's of its time. It's like hard to like kind of like get a grasp at, because it's almost to the point where like you had to like be there to understand like why people found this funny, or like to realize this slapstick kind of humor was really prominent in that time.
I think I liked it when I was a kid, but I don't.
There was a big currency in movies where children hurt adults.
Also, I wanted to ask, where were you when this movie? Were you, because you have like a story for every like theater experience. Was this a theater movie?
I don't think this movie even, I think it got like the scantest of releases in the UK. It came out over here like summer 91, like I say, the same weekend as Terminator 2. And then I don't think we got it in the UK until like fucking February 92, March 92. I did not see this in theaters. I saw this on video. I don't have any sort of specific nostalgic feelings towards the experience of watching it. I just know that I ended up seeing it a lot.
Why? Like how does that happen? It's like, oh, I'm at a party. Oh, guys, guess what I have? Problem Child 2?
I think it just became one of those kind of sleepover movies where you kind of stick it on to sort of watch people's reactions to it. I'm a big fan of watching people watch movies, which sounds creepier than it is. But for example, Roddy, when me and you went to see Hereditary, I'd actually seen that movie the night before.
No, yeah.
And I spent a good portion of that movie just watching you react to it. And that was a lot of fun for me, because watching horror movies with you is always just a fucking treat.
Yeah, I know this.
I liked Roddy's reaction to the Greasy Strangler.
Oh, God, I hated that.
Oh, man. Somebody please make a Greasy Strangler too, so we can get on that.
Yes. I liked it. It was weird as hell. It's super gross, but I liked it.
Yeah, Greasy Strangler's a hill I'm willing to die on. I think that movie's kind of fucking great.
I won't lie. It's like, because it was one of the ones where like, when I knew I had to watch Problem, it was that feeling like when it was like, oh, we're doing Problem Child 2, and I was like, oh no, I feel like I'm not gonna like this. So like watching this movie and having to sit through it was like so difficult. It's like a part of me is like, all of a sudden I find myself in the kitchen getting a snack. And I'm like, oh shit, I have to go back and like rewind it. And, like, what did I miss? And it turns out nothing.
How the fuck would you fix this franchise from here on out?
I probably prequel with Trixie.
Ooh, that's a good one.
What was she doing when Junior was doing his whole thing? Because if she's also like a problem child and she's the more likable of the two, I'd probably... Because I mean, I couldn't see how the two of them continuing on together could be a thing. But yeah, I think I would focus on her.
Ooh.
I think they should have leaned farther into the humor because supposedly both of the first two movies were chopped up and kind of toned down, like recut. Release the Snyder cut of the first two movies. And then in the third movie, bump it down from being a children's movie to, you know, not super dark, but dark comedy that appeals to adults rather than children. And then just like kind of sit on that borderline between kids humor and like, but not like sexual adult humor, but like just weird fucking, you know, nonsense.
You said it earlier, just fucking get John Waters in to direct it. Just make this a fucking John Waters movie. We'll have somebody eat a dog turd for real. Why not? That has been Problem Child 2, our very first episode of this podcast, and possibly our last. But if this was not to be our last episode and we were to do another movie next week, Roddy, what would that movie be?
Well, it's a movie that obviously is going to be a big franchise. It's The Boy 2 with the infamous Katie Holmes. You may recognize her as... She's in First Daughter. She's in...
First Daughter.
Yeah, no, dude, we know who Katie Holmes is.
I don't know. There are people that is...
Hold on. No. Let him go.
I love that that's the first one that you listed.
I had a weird moment during this quarantine where, like, you know what I feel like? I feel like watching those movies where it's about the first daughter trying to escape her hard upbringing. So I watched both Chasing Liberty and First Daughter.
That's so specific, Roddy.
See?
I don't know what either of those movies are.
That's so specific.
That's an interesting double feature.
Because it was an interesting concept, and it's like it came at the exact. It's those movies that came at the exact same time, and you're like, okay, what's the difference? Again, none whatsoever, except a different lead.
Amazing.
It was also $5.
Again, thank you for listening, and if you dare, join us next week when we delve into the world of Brahms, The Boy 2.
Oh, I forgot the subtitle.
We have been Bad with Numbers from Toronto, Canada. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Give a shit! Give a shit! Give a shit! Give a shit!